Hello students. So earlier in the class we have discussed about nutrients. In the process organization of a body, how the human body is formed. We discussed that it is formed with various organ systems. They are digestive system, respiratory system, circulatory system, excretory system, muscular system, skeletal system, etc. Right? Out of which we are started to discuss about one of it, that is digestive system. Before going into the topic digestive system, first we need to understand some other things. So in order to explain that, we have started knowing about the food, that what we eat. And we already learned that what is that food we eat consists in it. Why we eat food? Everybody eats the food because of to get the energy to do the work and to the growth of the body. What is there in the food used for energy production or for the growth of the body? We have discussed. They are simply called as nutrients. What are nutrients? Which are used for the production of energy and which are used for the growth of the body. We have discussed any food material you eat, any food, any sort of food, that food consists of majorly the following the products. They are carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and certain minerals. These are the major things present in any sort of food, whether you eat chicken, whether you eat mutton, whether you eat dal, whether you drink milk, whether you eat chapati, whether you eat any jowar roti or whatever. That food material consists of these 5 kinds of substances in it, which are useful, which are giving the energy and which are used for the growth of the body. Out of which we have learned about carbohydrates. I am just recalling it. Carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates? They are known as sugars even, which are made of with carbon, hydrogen, oxygen in the ratio of 1:2:1. This formula is written as CnH2nOn. If the C is 6, H is 12, 2 times to the carbon. If carbon is 1, hydrogen should be 2. If carbon is 2, hydrogen is 4. If carbon is 3, hydrogen is 6. Similarly, if carbon is 6, hydrogen is 12, oxygen is 6. C6, OH12, O6. This is glucose. So like this, any carbohydrate if you take, actually it is earlier definition, but nowadays the definition for carbohydrate has been changed a little, because all the products which are made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen are not exactly the carbohydrates. Very few are there, 2 or more something are there which are not carbohydrates but which possess this carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. That we discuss later, but just remember at most all carbohydrates will possess this formula, that is CnH2nOn. That is a carbohydrates made of with carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. That too in the ratio of 1:2:1. We have discussed many. Glucose, isn't it? Galactose, right? Some are single unit sugars like glucose, simple sugar, simple carbohydrate. Some are 2 or more. If they are 2, disaccharides. If they are more than 2, they are oligosaccharides. If they are more than 9, 10 like that, they are polysaccharides. We discussed saccharide sugars are of 4 types. monosaccharide, disaccharide, oligosaccharide, polysaccharide. Out of which first one is monosaccharide. Monosaccharides are made of with single sugar unit. Single sugar unit. Just a single sugar unit. For example, if you take C6H12O6, this is glucose. This one is single sugar unit. It is monosaccharide. Monosaccharide. For example, imagine if any product is combined, like one glucose unit, that is C6H12O6, okay, is united, it's combined with another glucose unit, C6H12O6. That means how many glucose we have? 2 glucose molecules we have. 2 glucose molecules. This may be maltose. It is now said to be a maltose. Now see the difference to the glucose and maltose. Glucose is single unit, single sugar unit, single molecule of sugar will be there here. Single molecule of sugar will be C6H12O6. It is simple carbohydrate, also called monosaccharides. Monosaccharide. Which one? Glucose. Because it is having only one sugar unit, one molecule of glucose. If take maltose, how many molecules are present here? 2 sugar units. What are those? One glucose unit, another one is also glucose unit. Right? So what happened now? 2 glucose units are present. It is now maltose, which is said to be disaccharide. Which is said to be disaccharide. See the difference. Glucose is made of with one sugar unit, single sugar unit, one molecule of glucose, then it is said to be monosaccharide. Monosaccharide. Whenever the saccharides are having, whenever the sugars are having, saccharide is a word actually taken from Latin, which means the sugar. It is, if it is having only one sugar unit, one saccharide, then it is said to be simple carbohydrate. Simple carbohydrate. Now see, what about maltose then? Is it simple? If you take maltose, what is it? It is having 2 molecules of glucose, 2 sugar units. Then what is it called? Disaccharide. Simple? No. When we compare with glucose, it is not as simple as glucose. It is having 2 more. Much more complex is there. Okay. This is disaccharide, maltose sugar. Now imagine, I am just erasing this, we will discuss it. Now imagine one glucose unit, C6H12O6. So it better I will write in terms of the like this name. Glucose, one molecule of glucose is combined with one molecule of maltose. What is the resultant product? Guess. What is the resultant product? See here. Glucose, one molecule, plus maltose. How many molecules of glucose? How many sugar units are there? 2 sugar units. Because maltose is made up with 2 sugar units, we discussed. One glucose and the other glucose. So equivalent product will get how many? 3 sugar units. 3 sugar units product we get. Now tell me, what is it? Is it monosaccharide? No. Why it is not monosaccharide? It is not having single unit. If you take this one glucose, it is monosaccharide. Plus, if you take maltose, it is disaccharide. Because it is having 2 sugar units. Now what about this? 3 sugar units. It is trisaccharide actually. Trisaccharide. What we discussed earlier. If it is having 1 sugar unit, it is monosaccharide. If it is having 2 sugar units, it is disaccharide. If it is having 3 sugar unit, 4 sugar unit, 5 sugar unit, 3 trisaccharide, 4 tetrasaccharide, 5 pentasaccharide, 6 hexosaccharide. Is that no? But you know what is this altogether? 3 to 9 altogether called oligosaccharide. Oligosaccharides. 3 to 9 sugar units. They are said to be oligosaccharide. Now compare them. Compare this 3 sugar unit oligosaccharide with this monosaccharide. What we can understand? It is having only one sugar unit. As simple as. It is simple sugar when compared with this. Right? Now when we compare this oligosaccharide, 3 sugar units or 4 sugar units or 5 sugar units, 3 to 9 sugar units, it is said to be oligosaccharide. When compared with this oligosaccharide, what about maltose, which is having only 2 sugar units? Then it is said to be a simple. It is said to be a simple sugar unit. But remember one point, when compared with maltose and glucose, only 2 comparisons. Just take 2 comparisons. See, glucose and maltose. Glucose is 1 sugar unit, maltose is 2 sugar units. Which is simple, which is complex? Glucose is simple. Maltose is got to be complex because it is having more units in it. Similarly, now compare with glucose and oligosaccharide. It is 1 sugar unit, simple. This is many sugar units, complex. Now compare with maltose and oligosaccharide. Maltose is having only 2 sugar units. Oligosaccharide is having more than 2, 3, 4, 5. Then this is complex sugar units. So, however, with all these things, we have to come to a conclusion. What I mean to tell you is, carbohydrates can simply said to be a simple carbohydrates, or complex carbohydrates. So now in this we can take 2 again, disaccharides and monosaccharides. Sorry, monosaccharides, disaccharides can be a simple. Oligosaccharides and polysaccharides are complex carbohydrates. Like for example, starch present in potato, rice, isn't it? Potato, rice, these are all rich of starch in it. Okay. So if you take this, starch is having many sugar in it. It is having many sugar units. Hence, it is said to be a complex sugar. Sorry, complex carbohydrate, complex sugar. Complex carbohydrate, complex sugar, heavy molecules. Number of molecules will be there. More and more, hundreds of molecules will be there. If you take simple carbohydrate, like for example glucose, we discussed already glucose, maltose, galactose, are simple sugars. Why they are simple sugars? It is having only 1 sugar unit. Only 1 sugar unit. Hence it is simple carbohydrate. Okay. So whatever the food we eat, remember the point. Whatever the food we eat, for example, you are eating potato. That means what you are eating? Sugar, glucose? No. What you are eating? Starch. What is it? It is having many sugar units. That many sugar unit compound product will not give the energy to our body. Okay. That means you may get the question now. Sir, do the potato not gives the energy? No, it's not like that. It gives the energy. But when? How? That potato which is having starch, which is having many sugar units, first should get breakdown. Should break down. Break down in the sense not like this, cutting the pieces. That your mother can do at home. She will cut the pieces and makes the curry. That means already made small pieces. Is that small piece of potato is simple carbohydrate? No, that is also potato. It is having starch in it. The starch in the potato, the many carbohydrates are there, many sugars are there in that starch, many carbohydrates, many sugar components are there in the potato piece. that should be break down and break down into to get at least one of that carbohydrate. What is the least one of that carbohydrate? Simple sugar which should made with only one sugar, that is glucose. So what is happening there? The heavy product of potato peas is breaking down and breaking down and breaking down and getting into simple product of glucose. So this process where this complex carbohydrate is changing into simple carbohydrate is only called digestion. It is only called digestion. That means changing this complex substance which is made with many units, many molecules, is breaking down and getting into the acid plus with single units, with single molecules, that simple substances is called digestion. Conversion of these complex substances into simple substances is only called digestion. That digestion takes place in some organs of our body. All these organs together called digestive system. Got the point now? We discuss later how this starch, how this potato peas is changes into single unit of glucose. Single unit of glucose. You may get the question now, sir, why we have to take potato? Why again struggling to get breakdown to make it glucose? Take directly glucose. Obviously, take directly glucose, no problem. Okay, is it possible all the time? Think about it. Okay. That is what the reason I already told you in the previous class. The sports persons always takes glucose directly because it gives immediate energy. Starch do not gives us. I told earlier in the class what is the use of carbohydrates. That use it for the production of energy, most probably. Carbohydrates gives us energy. The starch is carbohydrate, complex carbohydrate. Is that directly gives energy? No. Is that directly gives energy? No. Which one gives energy? Glucose. That means what should happen? The starch should change into glucose. How the starch changes into glucose? Starch is made with many sugar units. What should happen? It should change into glucose means what should happen? It should break down. Where it will get breakdown? In a body. How it will get breakdown? In the digestive tract. In the digestive gut. When we take the food, when we take the potato into our body, when we take the rice into our body through our mouth, when we chew the food, when we swallow the food, it will start its journey, travels and moves. So while it is moving in our body, it starts its journey for 3 to 4 hours. Within the 3 to 4 hours of journey in our body, all that starch will be converted into glucose. It is not because of grinder present in our body. No. How it will break down and all, we'll discuss a step by step. Okay? Right. So remember this point. It's very important. Okay. So next we'll continue with another topic. Okay. Till here you just write in your notes. Okay. Thank you.